I heard someone say the other day, the number one reason why relationships fail is because people don't tell the truth. I'm going to take that one step further and say the number one reason why relationships fail is because people don't know their truth. They don't know their true selves. And in this lesson, I'll show you why that is from an attachment perspective. And stick around till the end of the video because I'll give you my strategy for uncovering your true self that's worked for me and all of my clients. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Amy and I work with women to help them heal their insecure attachment so they can attract a partner and relationship that's truly worthy of them. And if you want more content on this topic, make sure you subscribe to this channel and click the bell button so you get notified because I'm posting new lessons like this every week. Now, before we begin, I want to let you know that a few places have opened on my calendar for the free one-to-one session for the Love by Design program. If you'd like to know how to apply for that, stick around till the end of the lesson and I'll tell you how. Now, like I said, the number one reason why relationships fail is because we don't communicate our truth because we don't know our truth in the first place. And there's a really clear answer for why we don't know our authentic selves, and that lies in this attachment perspective. So the reason we don't truly know ourselves is because in childhood, connection is primal. We have a deep subconscious programming in us in order to connect and fit in with our primary caregivers in order to feel safe. And what happens in that is our sense of self becomes enmeshed and merged with our caregivers so that bond is formed and we get our connection needs met on a primal level. Now, if attachment availability is scarce with our caregivers, they're not around to give us enough of our needs and connection met, we actually learn an insecure form of attachment. So our true self, our natural state of being before we started to condition ourselves to fit in, gets covered over with this altered version of who we are, what I call our false self, so that we can get these primal connection needs met. Now, this is happening at a subconscious level. And with this insecure attachment, we learn responses that keep our sense of safety stable in our world. And if we override ourselves in order to get connection, we learn a more anxious response. We're seeking connection at all costs above and beyond our sense of self. And if we tend to pull away from connection and preserve the self as a response, we learn more avoidant attachment styles. You know, we're not connecting to our true self and then we're actually covering it over with this space, this avoidance. Both of these learnt responses are maladaptive ways of dealing with this unavailability of connection from our primary caregivers, and both of these responses cover over our natural state of being, who we are when we feel safe and secure in our body. Now, as a child, our false self becomes integrated into our personality as coping mechanisms. It really becomes our identity, either pursuing connection at the cost of self or withdrawing from connection so that self can be covered over and protected. And from the initial wounding, that first moment when we're 3 or 4, when we start to realize that our caregivers aren't always available, we then learn up to the age of 10 maladaptive coping mechanisms that deal with that initial wound. And we call this the adaptive child. Aspects of personality that show the adaptive child is present might be perfectionist and black and white thinking and really rigid views and then a tense, tight body. Now, any kind of adaptive skills in children are pretty much set in stone by the age of 10. But then when we become adults, 50% of the population carry these maladaptive coping strategies into their adult self and their adult relationships. And because it isn't integrated, we haven't matured those parts of us, they become really apparent when we connect intimately in relationship as adults. It becomes the primal strategy for connection and intimacy. And we literally block love with the false ways that we learn to cope with, unavailable love as a child. So at the slightest sign of unavailability or conflict, we defer to those maladaptive coping strategies. And this is the reason why so many relationships fail at the first sign of a power struggle or conflict. We literally regress into our maladaptive childhood state in order to try and maintain connection or to move away from connection. We literally get in the way of healthy, authentic love because we get stuck in our childhood ways as adults. So in picture form, it looks like this. The blueprint that we have for getting connection with our primary caregivers when we're children, and that includes the communication style we have and the actions we took and the beliefs that we had, then becomes the same blueprint we use to connect and attach in our adult intimate relationships. Because it comes from this survival mechanism that we learned when we were children, it literally gets in the way and blocks intimate love as adults, which means there's no authentic relating and connecting. And there's no true intimacy or bonding because the connection is based around this fight or flight mechanism that's been going on since early childhood. So the solution to this is to clear out the false self, all the actions and beliefs and patterns and tendencies we learnt as a child, to reveal our true self to ourselves and to our partners, and to practice integration and wholeness within ourselves and what lies underneath your false self so that you can truly know yourself and then communicate it. Let me know in the comments below if this lands for you, if any of these aspects around the false self you notice that you have in intimate relationship. Perhaps in your life, most of your relationships are great, but when it comes to true intimacy, your more childhood mechanisms come up and you feel out of control with it, that there's a sign that your false self is still at the wheel, so to speak. So how do we actually go about clearing the false self so that we can connect to ourselves and communicate ourselves and really develop this deep intimacy in our relationships so that they don't fail? The first thing you need to do is to start uncovering your stories. What are the beliefs that you have about yourself in your life that tend to keep the unhealthy patterns in play in your relationships? Now, these beliefs often come in the form of stories, things that we tell ourselves about ourselves and really believe that may or may not actually be true. They're common beliefs that we have, and underneath them there's a frequent recurring emotion that the body experiences when we're telling ourselves that story. So identify what the deeper feeling and emotion that is attached to the story. And the most common emotions we experience attached to false self stories are feelings of shame and feelings of fear and abandonment and sadness. The second thing you're going to learn how to do is how to identify the somatic experience that your body has when you're feeling those feelings. You see, when we're a child and we start to experience the lack of available connection, what happens is a part of us becomes frozen at that age. And as adults, when we regress back into our child false self, the frozen parts within us come up and start acting on behalf of us. So we need to identify where these feelings and energies lie somatically in the body. When you experience that common story in your mind and that common feeling of shame or fear or sadness comes up, I want you to take a moment and notice what's going on in your body. Where is there a pain or numbness or sensation that commonly comes up when you feel that emotion and when you experience that internal story? And also, is there a chain reaction that goes on? Do you first feel shame and then feel a numbing here and then a story appears? How are they connected? So this takes a certain level of self-awareness and meditation and any kind of mindfulness therapy that can allow you to clear out and really still the mind so that you can just sit and be with the body when you're experiencing any limiting beliefs and emotions and physical sensations that come with it. The third step is then to harness any kind of somatic therapy that resonates with you in order to heal this identified energy that's frozen in the body. Any kind of clearing therapies that work include EFT and breath work and EMDR. Really, any therapy that taps into your experiential embodied state whilst connecting it to your limiting story and then allowing you to reorganize that story so that you can clear the link between your mental understanding of it and your emotional understanding and physical understanding. We want to really break that bond and rewire it. So whatever somatic therapy you connect to will work for you. That really allows the rewiring of the body and the mind. And the last step is to literally practice that cycle again and again of uncovering the story that's going on and identifying the body's experience of it and then healing it and rewiring that connection. And if you're really overwhelmed and don't know where to start, I can really recommend a teacher called Tara Brach and her RAIN method, RAIN. Just type it into YouTube and start practicing that technique. So what happens over time is as you clear your false self, your true self will emerge, it will come through, and you'll come to identify more clearly with the emotions and the authentic stories that your true self really resonates with. And you'll notice yourself feeling freer and more embodied, more connected and in alignment with your body, heart and mind. And that's going to give you more presence and clarity and just space and time in your life, because you're not expending unnecessary energy on trying to maintain your false self, all the stories and the energy of trying to be someone that you're not. You get to spend more time relaxing and just being in your natural state of being. So in this video, I've shown you how to really clear out your false self so that you can connect to your true self, so that you can then communicate that authentically in your relationships. And if you want to know my complete 3-step method from going from insecure to secure in relationship to yourself and with others, I want you to join me in my free training on the proven 3 steps to a secure relationship. The link for that training is in the description below. I also have a free Facebook group and I'd love to see you in there. And if you want to know more about your inner child archetype, I have a free quiz in the description below that's going to help you to do this clearing work more authentically. And the application for the free one-to-one strategy call with me for the Love by Design program is in the description below. You can access my calendar and go ahead and schedule that there. Now, if you found this video helpful, please click the like button. It will help me and this channel out. And hit the subscribe button so that you get more notifications for my next lessons that are upcoming. And in the meantime, here are some next step videos for you to watch so that you can move one step closer to having an incredible relationship with yourself and with your partner. And for now, I'll see you in the next video.